Good morning, True Church. This morning, as we're entering this new week, I don't know what will be in front of you, but there is a verse as we're walking through the book of Philippians. I wanted to highlight what we heard yesterday in the sermon and move to the next verse. He says this in verse 3. He begins this. He says, "I thank my God in all my remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine for all of you, making my prayer with joy, because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now. And I am sure of this, that the one who began a good work in you will carry it to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." And then he says this, he says, "It is right for me to feel this way about you, because I hold you in my heart, for you are all partakers with me of grace, both in my imprisonment and in the defense and confirmation of the gospel." Okay, so this is what's going on. Paul is in prison. Remember this. He's under house arrest, and some of you feel like that too. And while he is there, he has this idea that God is still using all these things woven through. So he says that he who began a good work in you, the one who began a good work in you, will carry it to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. So that the circumstances you are in right now, God is working in and through. And then he says, as he says these words in verse 7, "It's right for me to feel this way about you, because I hold you in my heart, for you are all partakers with me in grace." There's a sense that Paul, even here, realizes that he is bound together with these partakers of the gospel together and these partners in the gospel together because they're all partakers of grace. That they've received grace, this delightful, unearned, gracious gift, compassionate gift of God, and that they've received this, and he and others are ones who receive grace. And therefore, from that posture of one who has received, they're able to engage. And he says this. He says that it is right for me to feel this way about you in my heart. He holds you in your heart. For, verse 7, you are all partakers with me of grace, co-receivers of grace, both in my imprisonment and in the defense and confirmation of the gospel. The idea that the fact that he was imprisoned did not in his mind see him as being cut off from the grace of God. He actually understood himself to be in the midst of God's expressing grace, and that as one who is receiving grace and my partner next to me receiving grace, it bound us together in this partnership of the gospel. I wonder today if you saw the people that you encounter, even if you only see a few people, or maybe you've got children alone, or maybe you may not see anyone, or maybe a neighbor in a distance. I wonder how my and your life is different if I see that person as one who God desires to extend grace, and even perhaps one who participates, one who receives that grace and lives into it. Paul was bound deeply by that with his church and the church he loved, by realizing that God was this gracious giver and that they together were partakers of this grace. I wonder what ways you might be able to participate in the receiving of God's grace today. Some of you did that through communion yesterday on Sunday. Some of you did it in different ways. I don't know what that participation, that entering into receiving God's goodness looks like today. But I want to encourage you to look for that. Look for the ways that you are participating, that you are receiving the grace of God that is given to you. Maybe common grace. Because Paul saw that, and it made a complete difference in the way he understood his own imprisonment. What will your housebound or in shelter experience look like if you see yourself as one who is receiving grace, looking for grace, and seeing others that are in the house with you or around you as also ones who have received that grace? May the Lord's grace and peace be with you as you enter this day. Bye for now.